A pale dawn stretched across the quiet city, painting the streets in soft grays and muted golds. Lily Hartfield stood at the edge of her apartment balcony, breath misting in the cool air, and watched the world stir awake. Her heart felt heavy with doubts, questions that had accompanied her since childhood, whispering that she might never truly belong. Today, like so many mornings before, she tried to steel herself against the weight of uncertainty. Below, at the corner cafe where she'd once dreamed of finding purpose, the silver shutter rolled up. The scent of fresh coffee beans drifted upward, a promise of warmth in a world that often felt indifferent. Lily hesitated, trembling fingers curled around the railing. Every instinct told her to retreat back inside, to hide behind the safety of her doubts. Yet something pulled her forward, a faint, familiar tug in her chest. Moments later, the cafe door chimed. A figure stepped into the morning haze, tall, steady, and unmistakably him. In his hand was a steaming cup, its rich aroma drifting up to her like an invitation. He lifted it gently, as if offering more than just coffee, offering reassurance, history, and unspoken devotion. Lily's breath caught. In that stillness, with dawn light dancing on his face, she realized that no matter how uncertain the world became, he had always been her anchor. And today, she would finally allow herself to believe it. Lily cupped the warm mug in her trembling hands, the porcelain seeping heat into her chilled fingers. Below, the city's hum had grown louder, the rumble of buses, the murmur of early commuters, the clatter of cafe dishes. But all she could hear was the steady thump of her own heart and the distant echo of doubt. Who are you to deserve kindness? From beside her, Ethan Sinclair's voice drifted upward. I thought you might need this. He offered a small, understanding smile, as though he could read the swirling tempest inside her. His dark eyes held a carefully measured gentleness, one that warmed her more than the coffee ever could. Lily forced her lips into a grateful curve. Thank you, Ethan. Her voice cracked. She hadn't called him by name in so long, ever since he drifted back into her life 7 months ago after a decade of silence. He leaned against the railing, unfolding a simple brown paper bag. I made an extra cinnamon roll. You look like you could use something sweet. She laughed softly, half relief, half embarrassment. You always know. But beneath the small comfort, an undercurrent of tension pulsed. Today was her first day presenting her design pitch at Hartfield & Co., the firm that bore her family's name but had been slipping into stagnation for years. She had spent weeks crafting a visionary campaign, one that could revive the brand's signature warmth and authenticity. Yet the weight of legacy felt like shackles, expectations of perfection, whispers that she was coasting on her grandmother's reputation rather than her own merits. Ethan regarded her thoughtfully. Ready? Lily drew a shaky breath. As I'll ever be. The conference room at Hartfield & Co. was cavernous, its walls lined with glossy mahogany panels and corporate accolades. A semicircle of leather chairs framed an oval table, behind which sat the firm's senior partners, stern faces and sharp suits, waiting expectantly. At the head sat Victoria Lang, Lily's aunt and the company's formidable CEO. Victoria's reputation for ruthless pragmatism was the stuff of boardroom legend, and Lily could feel her aunt's gaze probing for weakness. Behind Victoria, glass windows overlooked the city's skyline, but the January light was weak, filtered through low clouds. The room felt stifling, as though the storm brewing outside had seeped in to witness Lily's impending trial. Ethan slipped into the seat next to Lily, discreetly placing the cinnamon roll before her. She shot him a grateful glance, then turned toward the partners. Good morning, Lily began, voice steadier than she felt. She laid out her laptop and clicked play on the first slide, an image of a painted cafe terrace, bathed in golden hour sunlight. I propose we rebrand Hartfield & Co. as more than a fashion house. We become storytellers of human connection. She moved fluidly through her presentation. Mood boards of handwritten letters and family gatherings, video clips of real customers sharing personal memories in Hartfield designs, and renderings of an interactive pop-up experience. The heart of Hartfield, where visitors could write and exchange stories under an oak tree installation. As Lily spoke, the room shifted. She noticed Vincent Thorne, the COO, arch his eyebrow, Rachel Kim, head of marketing, cross her arms, and most disconcertingly, Victoria's lips tighten into an almost smile. Every word she uttered felt like stepping onto shifting ice. Then came the question she dreaded most. Victoria's smooth voice cut through the applause that followed Lily's final slide. An evocative concept, dear. But tell me, what makes you believe our core clientele wants to exchange stories when they come to us for luxury and discretion? Lily's throat felt dry. The question was a gauntlet thrown at her vision's heart. She inhaled, steadying herself. Because genuine connection creates loyalty. Our market research shows a growing desire for brands that reflect personal values. This campaign taps into emotional authenticity, translating directly into increased engagement and sales. Victoria inclined her head. Numbers. Projected engagement uplift of 35% on social platforms, 20% increase in repeat purchases within 6 months, and a net 15% revenue growth in target demographics, Lily replied, her tone professional, though her chest tightened. Vincent tapped his pen. Ambitious, but implementing an oak tree installation tour across 5 major cities in North America, that's a logistical nightmare and expensive. Before Lily could answer, Rachel chimed in. Not to mention that luxury clients may balk at public events. They prize exclusivity. Lily swallowed. The criticism felt like a rising tide, threatening to drown her. Yet within her, a spark flared, a memory of the small cafe where Ethan had first reintroduced himself, and how her heart had dared to believe again. Drawing on that warmth, she met Rachel's gaze. Exclusivity and intimacy aren't mutually exclusive, Lily said. We can design invitation-only evenings under the oak tree, limited attendance, personalized story anthologies for each guest, bespoke keepsakes. It marries secrecy with connection. A hush fell. She saw Ethan's encouraging nod. Victoria studied Lily for a long moment, as if weighing her very person against the firm's legacy. Finally, Victoria leaned back. Very well. We'll run a pilot event in New York. If your metrics hold, we proceed. She snapped her notebook shut. Congratulations! In the elevator, Lily exhaled a long-held breath. Her legs trembled as the doors slid open to the lobby. Ethan fell in beside her. You were amazing, he murmured. You owned that room. Lily managed a wobbly smile. I almost froze at the question about our clientele. He reached for her hand. But you grounded yourself. That's growth. She closed her eyes for a moment, the morning's tension loosening. Yet beneath the relief lay residual fear. The pilot event could fail. Investors could balk. And if Hartfield & Co. rebuffed her vision, it wouldn't just be a professional setback. It would feel like personal failure, proof that she truly didn't belong in her family's name. Ethan guided her toward the cafe exit. Let's celebrate with breakfast, he suggested. Lily hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I think I need it. As they stepped into the crisp air, a gust of wind scattered a few dry leaves across the plaza. Lily watched them twirl, a symbol of transience and change. Today, she had faced her first external test and survived. But the path ahead brimmed with bigger challenges. Organizing an exclusive, emotionally resonant event under a legendary oak tree, earning the trust of clients who saw her ideas as too bold, and silencing the doubt that whispered she was merely living off her grandmother's shadow. She took a sip of steaming coffee, warmth spreading through her bones. By her side, Ethan offered a reassuring squeeze. In that moment, Lily felt both vulnerable and alive, caught between fear and possibility, uncertain yet eager to prove herself worthy of both her name and her dreams. The inciting incident was over, but the true journey was just beginning. Morning sunlight filtered through the broad canopy of the Hartfield flagship store in Manhattan, illuminating racks of waxed leather jackets and cashmere scarves. Beneath the towering oak sculpture, an arresting centerpiece of the pilot, Heart of Hartfield, pop-up, guests mingled, wine glasses in hand, while delicate fairy lights wound around the branches. Lily stood just outside, clipboard clutched in one hand, heart hammering. The success of this evening could make or break her vision. Ethan slipped beside her, offering a quiet smile. You're doing great, he whispered, tracing patterns on the clipboard with his fingertip. Everyone's talking about the story cards and personalized keepsakes. Lily nodded, though her stomach twisted. 3 hours of invitations. Only receptions had filled the small courtyard. Key market influencers, longtime clients, and a handful of Hartfield alumni, including her skeptical cousin Marcus. If their feedback skewed negative, the board would pull funding, and her campaign would sink before it ever found wings. She took a deep breath and turned back to the entrance. A trio of guests approached, each clutching a small, embossed envelope. Lily greeted them by name, Miss Ramirez, Mr. Chen, Dr. Patel, and guided them toward the oak installation. Underneath, tables held handwritten story cards, memories of first dates, cherished childhood moments, even lost loves rediscovered. As each guest chose a card to read aloud, Lily watched their expressions shift from polite curiosity to genuine emotion. One of the guests, Helena Ramirez, an influential lifestyle blogger, unfolded her card and paused. This is my wedding day, she said softly, voice catching. I wrote this to my late husband. Tears shimmered in her eyes. Lily's chest tightened. She'd never met Helena before, yet here was proof that her concept resonated on a profoundly human level. Encouraged, Lily moved to oversee the next area, a small library of bound anthologies, each personalized with guests' names and their own stories interwoven with Hartfield design history. She watched as Mr. Chen, a retired art curator, ran his fingers over a leather-bound edition stamped with gold leaf. The tactile detail is exquisite, he murmured. Lily exhaled. This was what she'd envisioned. But not every moment was smooth. Over by the wine bar, Marcus Hartfield, her cousin and unofficial heir presumptive, stood with his arms crossed, surveying the scene with a critical eye. His designer suit tailored to perfection, Marcus embodied the traditional Hartfield aesthetic. Pristine, unflappable, utterly risk-averse. Lily approached him. "Marcus, what do you think?" she asked, smiling in spite of her nerves. He lifted a delivered story card from her hand and scanned it. "It's sentimental, but our brand stands for sophistication, not hometown nostalgia. This community theater wardrobe doesn't match our vision." Lily clasped her hands. "These aren't costumes, Marcus. They're canvases for personal narratives. Our research shows that emotional authenticity drives customer loyalty more than runway exclusivity, especially with younger demographics." Marcus's lips twitched. "Loyalty is fickle, style is eternal." He handed back the card. "I'll reserve final judgment for the sales report." Then he turned away, disappearing into the crowd. Ethan slipped an arm around Lily's waist. "Ignore him," he murmured. "Look over there." At a small fire pit installation, two guests, one in a tailored emerald coat, the other in a cashmere-lined blazer, leaned in close, whispering to each other as they exchanged their own story cards, laughter bright as sparks in the night air. Lily's chest swelled with pride. She'd created a space for genuine connection, and it was working. But the rising action wasn't confined to this one event. In the days that followed, Lily found herself juggling mounting pressures. Logistics teams pitched cost overruns on the Oak Tree tour. Marketing execs argued over adaptations of her concept for digital channels. And Victoria Lang scheduled weekly presentations to assess metrics. Each meeting tested Lily's resolve. Internal doubts, what if I'm not cut out for leadership, raced alongside skeptical board comments. One afternoon, Lily stayed late to handle unexpected shipping delays for the New York event story card boxes. Outside, subways rattled by, and the city buzzed with urgent energy. She paced the boardroom, phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, I understand, but we need those crates by 9 a.m., she said firmly. "The handwritten details can't be compromised." She hung up and sank into a chair, eyes closed. Behind her, the conference room window framed a kaleidoscope of taillights and neon ads, a stark contrast to the warm oak glow she'd worked to create. "I thought you left hours ago," a voice said. Lily looked up to see Ethan, coat in hand. "Long day," she nodded, rubbing her temples. "I'm afraid the pilot's logistics are falling apart. If we don't get everything here on time," she trailed off. He leaned against the table, concern in his eyes. "You won't let it fail." "How do you know?" she challenged. "Because you've already made it succeed once. Look at the client feedback. You're changing the way people think about Hartfield and Co." He pulled a tablet from his bag and handed it to her. Here, live engagement on social media. Heart of Hartfield trending, thousands of shares, dozens of heartfelt posts from attendees about their memories. Lily scrolled through a stream of photos. Guests clutching their story anthologies, impromptu poetry readings beneath the oak branches, laughter frozen in Polaroid snapshots. Tears blurred her vision. It feels possible. That's because it is, Ethan said softly. You're giving people something real. Companies chase trends, you're crafting memories. He brushed a stray strand of hair from her face. And I'll make sure you never do it alone. Her heart lurched at his promise. Yet as relief washed her, so did a new question. Can I strike a balance between creative vision and practical execution? Alone, she'd pushed through doubts. With Ethan's steady support, she felt powerful. But could two hearts in tandem weather the storm of corporate reality? Over the next weeks, Lily traveled with the Hartfield pop-up to Toronto and Chicago. Each city brought new challenges. Local permits tangled in bureaucracy, unfamiliar venues that strained the oak tree installation's logistics, regional clientele whose tastes differed from Manhattan's. Lily learned to adapt her narrative. In Toronto, she wove in stories of immigrant parents' sacrifices. In Chicago, tales of Midwestern family reunions. Each iteration refined her concept, deepening its emotional reach. In Toronto, she encountered a guest who shocked her. A stoic investment banker who, after reading a story card, wept openly. I lost my mom last year, he confessed. This gave me a piece of her I never realized I needed. He clasped Lily's hand, gratitude shining in his eyes. That moment reminded her why this mattered, why a big brand gamble was worth every sleepless night. Back in New York, Victoria scheduled a full board review. The night before, Lily barely slept, rehearsing her talking points one last time. When the meeting commenced, Victoria's steely gaze was more probing than ever. Yet Lily stood taller, her voice calm and assured as she presented updated engagement metrics. An 80% satisfaction rate, social media referrals up 50%, a waiting list for the next event in Lowe's Angels. Victoria studied her granddaughter's granddaughter, no, her own niece, instead of letting credentials or pedigrees speak. Then she closed her folder and said, You've proven the concept. We greenlight the full tour. The room erupted in applause. Lily exhaled so hard she felt as if she'd been underwater, finally breaking the surface. Exiting the boardroom, Lily spotted Marcus in the hallway. He nodded, a subtle, rare gesture of respect. She allowed herself a small smile. Conflict remained. She still battled imposter syndrome, logistical hurdles, and the ever-looming question of balancing soulful storytelling with corporate demands. But she now had undeniable proof. Her vision resonated, her leadership was emerging, and beneath it all, Ethan's unwavering support kept her grounded. That night, beneath a clear sky, Lily met Ethan on the rooftop of her apartment building. City lights stretched below and stars winked above. She turned to him, breathless. We did it, she whispered. He smiled, lifting her hand to his lips. We did. In that breathless moment, Lily realized that rising action wasn't just a chapter. It was an ascent forged by doubt, determination, and the courage to believe in the power of true connection. The greatest challenge still awaited. A climactic confrontation that would test her heart and her convictions to their very core. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the Lowe's Angels skyline as storm clouds gathered over the final Heart of Hartfield event. Beneath a massive oak canopy draped in lanterns, VIP guests murmured in anticipation. Lily Hartfield stood at the edge of the platform, her pulse thrumming like the distant storm. Tonight's gala was the culmination of everything she'd fought for, the flawless fusion of luxury and intimacy that would cement her reputation. Just before the doors opened, Victoria Lang appeared at Lily's side, expression unreadable. Remember, Victoria whispered, if this flops, we revert to the old model. No more experiments. Her tone held no warmth, only the steel of corporate survival. Lily nodded, swallowing. Moments later, the oak courtyard filled with guests in evening gowns and tailored tuxedos. A hush fell as Lily stepped forward and raised her glass. Welcome, she began, voice echoing through the space. Tonight isn't just about celebration, it's about story. about honoring who we were and who we choose to become. A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd. Lily scanned the audience. Socialites snapping silent selfies, journalists waiting to capture the next Instagram moment, and tucked near the back, Marcus Hartfield, eyes intent and arms folded. Even Victoria watched from the sidelines, arms crossed. Ethan took his place beside Lily, offering a reassuring squeeze of her hand. She returned his smile, then exhaled and dove into the presentation. Under lantern light, guests rotated through story stations. A scent bar where perfumes evoked ancestral memories. A couture gallery displaying gowns paired with handwritten love letters. And at the heart of it all, the oak trunk draped in silk, where Lily's own story card lay. As the clock ticked past the first hour, everything seemed perfect, until a shriek rang out. Lily spun to see Helena Ramirez clutching her chest, tears streaming. "My card, it's gone." She gestured at an empty spot in the carousel. Nearby, a table of social media influencers clamored over a misplaced anthology, pages strewn across the grass. A hush fell as guests pointed and whispered. Panic surged through Lily's veins. The oak courtyard, once pristine, now resembled chaos. The lanterns flickered in the sudden gust of wind that swept down from the ocean. Lily's carefully choreographed symphony of emotion had hit a sour note. Victoria's voice sliced through Lily's panic. "What is happening?" Before Lily could respond, a booming crack of thunder cut power to the string lights. Darkness swallowed the courtyard. A wave of gasps and nervous laughter swirled around her. In that instant, every doubt she had ever had about her vision, her credentials, her worth, thundered in her ears. Heart pounding, Lily fumbled for her phone's flashlight. Ethan illuminated her face with its glow. "Stay calm," he urged. "You can still control this." Lily took a shaky breath. The lantern's warm glow had gone, but the oak's presence remained, roots planted deep, branches reaching upward. Drawing on every lesson she'd learned, she squared her shoulders. "Ladies and gentlemen," she called out, voice steady despite the storm. "Thank you for your patience. A power surge, nature reminding us of life's unpredictability." She flicked on her phone's flashlight and held it high. Others followed suit, phones bobbing like fireflies. Lily guided Helena to a nearby bench and handed her a replacement card from a secure reserve. "Your story deserves to be heard," Lily said softly. Helena unfolded the card, read aloud without hesitation, and the courtyard hushed once more. Ethan moved through the crowd, directing staff to retrieve stray anthologies and reset the carousel. Lily seized the moment to turn vulnerability into connection. Raising her phone light, she spoke from the heart. "True luxury isn't flawless perfection. It's authenticity, our willingness to share even when the lights go out." A ripple of applause rolled through the guests, and cell phone lights glinted in the darkness. Lily felt her own fear recede, replaced by a pulse of exhilaration. She invited Marcus down from the mezzanine. Trembling, she offered him a freshly bound anthology. "Your turn," she said. Marcus took the book, nodded once, and opened it. When he looked up, tears glistened in his eyes. "I didn't realize how much I needed this," he said quietly. "Thank you." At that moment, the power returned. Lanterns bloomed to life, fairy lights ignited, and the oak seemed to glow from within. Gasps of wonder rippled as the installation regained its full splendor. Victoria approached, gaze softened. "You turned a disaster into a triumph," she admitted. "You showed us what real elegance means." Lily's chest swelled with relief and pride. The storm, both literal and metaphorical, had tested her resolve and her vision. She glanced at Ethan, who offered his proudest smile yet. In the courtyard's renewed glow, Lily realized that the crucible of crisis had forged her into the storyteller and leader she was always meant to be. The world had witnessed her vulnerability and her courage. And in that moment of brilliance beneath the oak's sheltering limbs, she knew she had one more than approval. She had won hearts. As dawn broke over Lowe's Angels the morning after the storm-interrupted gala, Lily Hartfield stood beneath the oak installation one last time. The courtyard was quiet, the lanterns still aglow in the pale light, and the scent of jasmine from nearby planters drifted on the breeze. Though exhaustion tugged at her limbs, she felt a profound calm. Last night's crisis had proven her vision's staying power, and her own capacity to lead under pressure. Ethan found her tending to the silk-draped ribbons beneath the oak's lowest branch, straightening each bow with meticulous care. He approached silently, a fresh coffee cup in hand. "You look like you haven't slept," he teased softly, offering the mug. She accepted it gratefully. "I can't believe how everything came together," she murmured. Despite the rain and blackout, people connected. They stayed. They shared. He nodded, watching the courtyard clear as staff packed away story cards and bound anthologies into labeled boxes. "That's the beauty of authenticity. It outlasts any storm." Lily exhaled, letting the warmth of the coffee seep into her bones. "I was terrified I'd fail everyone, Victoria, the bored you myself." She paused. But when the lights went out, something shifted. Ethan laid a hand on her shoulder. "You shifted first." Over the next week, Lily moved through the aftermath of the gala with newfound confidence. In the executive suite, Victoria convened a debrief meeting. The senior team, Vincent, Rachel, even Marcus, gathered around the long mahogany table, where charts and photos from the event lined the walls. Victoria tapped a photograph of guests holding their illuminated story cards. "Attendance exceeded projections by 25%, she noted. "Social media engagement doubled." She turned to Lily. "Your concept has proven both emotionally resonant and commercially viable." A ripple of agreement spread through the room. Marcus offered an earnest nod. "And we received inquiries from Paris and Tokyo for international pop-ups." Lily felt a surge of pride. She had expected cautious praise, not enthusiastic buy-in. She shared updates, enhanced digital storytelling modules, a luxury subscription box featuring personalized story anthologies, and plans for a limited edition heritage collection inspired by guest narratives. As she spoke, she noticed the same sparkle of excitement she had once felt. When the meeting concluded, Victoria pulled Lily aside. "I know I said this was your last chance," she admitted, voice softer than usual. "But you've earned something more valuable than permission, earned our trust." She placed a hand on Lily's arm. "Keep telling these stories." Meanwhile, news of the successful gala had rippled through the fashion world. Trade journals featured glossy spreads on Hartfield's oak installation, and lifestyle magazines praised the fusion of luxury and emotional engagement. Lily's phone buzzed constantly with interview requests, profile pieces, and invitations to speak at industry conferences. Each request affirmed the truth she'd fought for, that human connection could be the most enduring form of luxury branding. Yet for all the professional triumphs, Lily felt a deeper transformation within herself. She no longer recoiled at her reflection in the mirror each morning. The self-doubt that had plagued her, voices whispering that she was merely living off her grandmother's legacy, had quieted into a respectful hum. She recognized now that her worth lay not in a name, but in her courage to honor her own vision. One evening, Ethan surprised her with a handwritten card and a small package. Inside was a delicate silver necklace, an oak leaf pendant engraved with the date of the Lowe's Angels Gala. A single ribbon looped around it in Hartfield's signature green. Lily's breath caught. Ethan smiled, his dark eyes shining. "For roots and growth," he said, "to remind you of where you came from and where you're going." Tears pricked her eyes as she fastened the chain around her neck. "It's perfect." He took her hand. "Just like you." In the weeks that followed, Lily embarked on the next stage of the Heart of Hartfield tour. Paris's petite courtyard under the Palais Royal Gardens brimmed with invited guests wrapped in cashmere stoles. Tokyo's minimalist gallery space under cherry blossoms held heartfelt story readings in both Japanese and English. In each city, Lily refined the narrative, weaving local histories and personal anecdotes with Hartfield's timeless elegance. Everywhere she went, she encountered moments that reminded her why the journey had mattered. In Paris, a fashion editor confessed that she'd initially dismissed Lily's concept as too whimsical. But after sharing her own story of first love under the Eiffel Tower, she admitted, "I felt seen." In Tokyo, a tech entrepreneur, stoic until then, Reed aloud a story about childhood summers in Kyoto and wept openly, surprising himself and the audience. Through it all, Ethan remained by her side, organizing logistics, fielding press inquiries, and offering unwavering moral support. Their partnership deepened beyond professional collaboration into something more profound. Two individuals whose strengths complemented one another, forging a bond built on mutual respect and genuine care. By the time the tour returned to New York for its final showcase at Central Park's Shakespeare Garden, Lily Hartfield was no longer the uncertain heir trying to prove herself. She was a storyteller, a leader, and above all, a visionary who had redefined what luxury could mean. As guests gathered beneath the late spring wisteria, Lily felt a gentle breeze stir the leaves, and she whispered, "We did it." Standing alone under the arching wisteria blossoms, Lily gazed at the twilight-painted sky. The tour had concluded, metrics surpassed every projection, and Hartfield & Co. was poised for a new era. Yet beyond the accolades and commercial success, Lily cherished a quieter triumph, the transformation within herself. She traced the oak leaf pendant resting against her heart and recalled the dawn in Manhattan when Ethan first brought her coffee. In that simple act lay the promise of unwavering support and the power of authentic connection. Too often, she doubted her own worth, wondering if she could stand on her own or whether her family's name was her only currency. Now she stood assured. Her vision had voice, her courage had wings, and her story was hers to tell. As the garden lights flickered on and guests drifted away in pairs, Lily closed her eyes and inhaled the fragrant evening air. A gentle smile curved her lips. She had faced storms, blackouts, and self-doubt, and emerged whole. In the hush of twilight, she finally felt at home within herself, ready to write whatever came next.